Hello and welcome everyone to Console Corner, another episode here and another short one as we just break down some action that happened in the NBA 2K League last night. And first and foremost, let's start with the Mavs and the Warriors. But actually, excuse me, let's go ahead and just place up a quick fact right here on the screen. Tonight, or last night rather, the three only number one picks in the NBA 2K League draft from all three seasons so far, all playing on the same night. I believe that's the first time this has happened at all. I believe there was a time where, Rhea and Dimes were playing on the same night last year, but all three number one picks playing on the same night yesterday. So, it's going to be a good one. You knew it. You knew it. And it was, rightfully so. Mavs versus Warriors. The Mavs beat the Warriors 2-0. It was 61-60 in the first game. Second game was 60-59, so a 1-point game both ways. The second game actually had to be restarted to finish that fourth quarter, which means it would have had to end, I believe, at 5:04 in the first quarter of the restart, and that would be the end of the fourth quarter, the end of the game in total. And there was a lot of controversy over this because PB Ballin, I believe it was, puts up a shot that seems to count, and they counted it, and the Mavs get the win. But in reality, if you go back and you watch the replay, the ball wasn't released until the imaginary buzzer was supposed to have already gone off. Now, we say imaginary buzzer because the game is ending at a different point than when the actual video game believes that the quarter or the game is over, right? Because of the restart. And that's part of the problem with remote play. They're unable to restart as efficiently as they have in the past when they play on stage in person in New York. But that's part of the game, and I guess that's the way it's going to be. Maybe they will go back and review it, and maybe they'll overturn it. Who knows? I don't know if that's an option or if that is something the league is going to look into. But in my opinion, Mavs and Warriors were supposed to go to game 3 with the Warriors winning 59-58. Instead, they lose 60-59. So unfortunate for the Warriors, but very fortunate for the Mavs. Let's go ahead and look at the player of the night for the Mavs. It happens to be Sherm. 25.5 points per game, 4.5 assists per game, and a 52 field goal percentage. He was on fire. This is part of the two ball handler dynamic that they have between Sherm and Dimes. Although this was a very defensive matchup, we told you those scores and they were pretty low. No one in the series scored over 30 points at all in any of the two games. The highest was 28 from Sherm, and PP Ballin was not very. It wasn't considered a very offensive threat in this matchup, but Spartan picks up some slack. He scored double digits, so they were able to still get that production down low on the offensive end. It was a very defensive-minded game, and that's pretty much how it went. Moving on, though, we have the Heat versus the Jazz. This was actually the first matchup of the night, and the Jazz win 2-0, and I would have guessed that as well. But Glenn and Hotshot for the Heat, they show up, and they kind of have been showing up for the past couple weeks. On the offensive side, the Heat are doing fairly decent, but on the defensive side of the ball, they are atrocious, and I think that's where the problem lies within their team. And plus, no defense from the Heat is going to be enough to stop the Jazz with 4 people in double digits in Game 1 and 3 in Game 2. When you have 4 people scoring double digits, you know that the whole team is clicking, and that is a big part of this year's meta, is that your whole team has to be really on the same page and pretty much going off. And that's what the Jazz were doing. Let's take a look at the player of the night for the Jazz. Happens to be Splashy, the point guard. The other day it was Rhea, and we were talking about Splashy a little bit on that day. Now we're talking about him as the main thing here from last night. 34 points per game, 7.5 assists per game, and a 55.3 field goal shooting percentage. So Splashy doing splash things. Rhea and Splashy really carrying this team on their back right now. They're doing a lot for the Jazz. If they can just have one person other than those two step up on a consistent basis, and I'm talking super consistent, the Jazz could be super dangerous. Next up, we have T-Wolves versus the Kings. The Kings win 2-0, and this was an interesting matchup because, again, they keep J Money at the point guard for the T-Wolves and keep Bear the Beast at the small forward. J Money, of course, was not able to duplicate the performance he had the night before against the Kings, and because of that, Bear the Beast had to step up and get some scoring options himself as the small forward. He did. I think he had a career-high 11 at the small forward position, but Yusuf and Shots, they find their 4 and 5, their power forward center chemistry, and go back to the beginning of the season, they were tinkering Yusuf at the center, Yusuf at the power forward, and then Shots back and forth, and now they've kind of found their rhythm. And Shots is your player of the night for this matchup. 12 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, and 2.5 assists per game. He's actually one of the most underrated players in the league. I believe he could be the most underrated player in the league currently. He's got, let's take a look at his regular season stats right now. 11.2 points per game at the center position, 10.8 rebounds per game. And you have to remember, these stats are from him even when he's switching between the center and the power forward early on in the season. So you can't really say, oh, well, amongst the other centers, he's not doing well. Well, he's kind of had to put eggs in both baskets. But now, focusing solely on the center position, he should be in good shape. Last but not least, and talking about centers, JBM and Dayfry, they go off for the Wizards against the Knicks as they 2-0 their matchup. Low turnovers for both teams. I think it was only 8 for each team in the first game. That's pretty low considering the amount of defense that's being played in the league and the badges that are on these lockdowns. It was a score fest between the point guard battle between JBM and Duck as well, but Duck was pretty much the only one that could produce points for the Knicks, and that's a problem because you need at least 2 players, and that being your point guard and your center. Dayfry puts up double-doubles on a consistent basis throughout the night, while Awkward and JBM both have outrageous scoring nights. They both hit 20s in the same game. I believe they did both games. I forgot to check on Awkward's score points in the second game, but Awkward at the shooting guard position playing fairly well. Another thing to note is that Nudini at the 4 is playing a very, 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 very good pick and roll when Dayfry is locked up and not able to get that play running. Most of the time he finds a way to get through those picks. He breaks through the defense, and that's why Dayfry is one of the best centers in the league. But when he can't, in that rare occasion, Nudini does step up, and he's able to put the ball in the bucket as well himself. Let's take a look at Dayfry here. 12 points per game, 14.5 rebounds per game, and 7.5 assists per game. Almost a triple-double average. Does get the double-double, though. Secures the bag with the rebounds. And Dayfry, another great performance from him. Wizards still a top 3 team, and they look like it. Let's end the show, and most importantly, are happy, which is not very happy for the Nets. Nets GC player Randoms has been given a 1-game suspension after the events that happened during their group play in the tip-off tournament last week. During a 71-39 blowout at the hands of the Pistons, Randoms appeared to rage quit the game before it was over. This was live on ESPN, TSN, and Sportsnet. And Randoms went to Twitter afterwards that during his frustration, he slammed his keyboard, which led to the game closing on its own. The Nets didn't make it out of their group. They restarted the game to finish the remaining time and were still blown out. The suspension will be served Monday, June 29th when the Nets play the Cavs Legion. Whether you think this punishment is enough or not, still puts a cloud of over the already roster-depleted Nets, who before the season even began had a player banned for the 2020 season and another fined for violating the code of conduct. The Nets are currently 4-3 and 8th in the league. My name is Real Blue TV. This is Console Corner. Keep gaming, everyone.